Okay, seems like the recording has resumed. So, hello, everyone. I just want to make sure, can you guys see me? Make sure you pin me. Those of you that are using a laptop or a desktop, it's pretty nice because you can change the view. So you see that there are some lines there in the middle, and you've got me on one side and the PowerPoint on the other. You can certainly drag that to make it larger or smaller. You can click on speaker view in the top right corner. If you're using a tablet, that to include an iPad or a phone, it is difficult. So you're really going to have to just kind of swipe until you see me, but it's going to be difficult to see multiple participants in the PowerPoint. Since we are recording the sessions, if you don't feel comfortable, you can certainly take down your camera. You can still participate in activities utilizing the chat. You are not required to keep your video on the entire time. So base that on your comfort level. Okay. So the first thing, you have to know who your teacher is, right? So I'm going to just give a brief introduction of who I am, and then I'm going to turn it over to you guys because I also want to know who my participants are. So my name is Ursa, and you see in English the letters that spell my name, Ursa, but in sign language, we have sign names, and mine is a U near the chin. My family is deaf. My mom is hard of hearing, hears well, signs. My dad is deaf. My brother is deaf. I am the oldest of four. And we use ASL all the time. I graduated from a school for the deaf, grew up in a school for the deaf, started in Maryland and then moved to Texas, then moved back to Maryland. And upon graduation, I went to Gallaudet, graduated, and here I am as a teacher. So you guys may be wondering where I live. I live in Austin, Texas, and my current job is teaching high school. I teach ASL, and I teach at the Texas School for the Deaf. So you may be wondering, you're teaching ASL to deaf students? Let me reframe this for you. You guys learn English, right? You learned the literacy, reading, writing. ASL and English are different. They do have some similarities, but different approaches. So we work with English teachers, and then we are able to teach kids how to code switch from English to ASL. Some children grow up without ASL, they experience language deprivation, and I'm there to support them and their language acquisition. I have taught family education from like ages 3 to college, adults, middle school, elementary. I've done workshops, presentations. I mean, you name it, I've likely done it. So if you have a question and you're not sure if I'm going to know, don't hesitate, just ask that question. This class is your class. This is your opportunity to ask questions and to really just kind of take initiative. My interpreter, Melissa, will be voicing for me. And, she is going to do her best to interpret the signs as we're virtually, but you're going to speak directly to me. You can do so in the chat and I will monitor the chat. You could also raise your hand. And then you could unmute, you could speak your question and the interpreter will sign for me. But if you prefer to utilize the chat and simply type your question or comment, that's okay too. Okay, any questions? Oh, let me see. Oh, very cool. Very cool. Small world. Oh, she used to work. Okay. Sometimes, like if I'm freezing or we're experiencing technical difficulties, please do let me know. It does look like it's about to pour outside. So, you know, prepare for a bit of glitchiness. Important thing to remember is our sessions are recorded. And the beginner class, you know, we may have folks that don't know any sign language and folks who do know some sign language. There's always quite a range. And I don't want anyone to compare yourselves to others. It's important that you're learning from a deaf teacher and that you're learning the appropriate foundation, structure, and grammatics of ASL. Sometimes I will have you guys mirror a sign. Sometimes I'll provide additional explanation, some historical content, and all of that is just supplemental learning. We will do practice. You guys have videos that you should be practicing. This is a process. It does take time. It's not going to be one class and you're going to be proficient. So now I'm going to turn it over to you guys. I will call on you. You don't have to sign to show me that you can sign. I just want you to voice your name. I want you to tell me why you're here. And I want you to tell me where you're from. You know, I can make comparisons. Are we in the same state, neighboring cities, etc.? It's important for me to know if my participants are parents, students. So I will call your name and you're going to voice. You can wave if you'd like, and then we'll just take it from there. Okay, so the lucky one to go first is Adriana Bonnie?
Bonet.
Bonnet, thank you.
No problem. My name is Adriana Bonet. I recently just found out that my son is partially deaf, hard of hearing. So I took this class to help him learn. He's 3 years old. I also work in a pediatric office. So I figured if I learn for my son, I can also help other children too.
Absolutely. And it's good, you know, you've got your own experience, but then helping and advocating within the community is great. I have met a lot of people who, you know, grew up deaf and they prefer to speak for themselves along the way, and that's fine. Some people have cochlear implants, some people have hearing aids, and all of that is totally fine. My goal here is to highlight communication. I see so many students who've never had any communication at home, and it is absolutely heartbreaking. Can you imagine, you know, coming into your house, feeling isolated, not having access to communication? You know, I was very blessed because I could sign with my parents. We had that communication. And so that's what we're focusing on here. And there are different ways to communicate, but we don't want anyone to feel isolated and alone. So it's very nice to meet you, Adriana.
Also, I live in Slidell, Louisiana.
Oh,
They
So we're
they can.
neighbors of sorts. Very good. Okay, so next, we're just gonna kind of go down through the participant list in alphabetical order. So we're gonna go to Amber, Simeon.
Hi, that's right. Amber Simeon. Nice to meet everybody. My son and I are on the call today. He's taking a bathroom break right now. We decided to explore ASL because the doctors are identifying that Grady is having deterioration of some sort with his hearing. So we're going to take this for fun and just kind of get ahead of the game. And we are from Pennsylvania.
Very nice. And again, you know, it's so important to have options. Adriana, Amber, you're both demonstrating that, you know, just trying different approaches. And that is wonderful, you know, exploring to determine what's best for your child. And I'm so glad that you're doing that. Okay, next, we're going to go to Andrew. Perhaps Andrew is busy. That's okay. We'll just go to the next one, which is Cassandra.
Hello. I decided to take this class because I have a son who will be 2 and he is deaf, so we are learning sign language for him. And we live in Virginia. And we're going to be moving to Maryland so he can attend the Maryland School for Deaf.
Very good. So just want to let you know that I did graduate from the Maryland School for the Deaf. So I'm an alum, even though I grew up in Texas. I did happen to graduate from the Maryland School for the Deaf. So with that, let's go to Diana.
Hello, I am from South Carolina now. We arrived from Ukraine 1 year ago, and we learned English as our second language. And I have a deaf daughter. She is 2 years old. She got a cochlear implant, but doctor doesn't promise that she will hear. So now she doesn't hear, and that's why we learn sign language. She attended Kelly Kids, the school for deaf and blind here in South Carolina.
Yeah, very nice.
Thank you.
There are a few states that have a deaf school with a blind school. You know, the state typically covers that education. Some states have that separately, but South Carolina does have the South Carolina School for the Deaf and Blind. So. Let's go to Erica. If you want to introduce yourself, tell me why you're here and where you're from, please.
Yes, hi. Can you hear me? Okay, great. Good evening, everyone. We are attending as a family. My name is Erica. This is Eva. This is Yana. And this is my husband, Chima. We all are attending as a family because we would like to learn another language as a family. And we also are interested in being advocates for our community, especially as healthcare provider myself, and also as a former educator behind me, my husband is. So just a great opportunity to learn with everyone. And thanks for having us. Oh, and we're from Georgia. Sorry, Atlanta area.
very nice, you know, just to want to contribute to the community, not necessarily having a tie, but later, you know, we'll talk about allyship and support. So thank you so much for what you're doing. Let's go to Karen Sharp. Oh, this is the interpreter. Karen, I think you're muted. Yep.
Hi, I'm Karen, and I am here because I'm a teacher. I'm teaching 4th grade this year. Prior to that, I was a special ed teacher, and I had students who were deaf on my caseload. But we still have a student in my school who's deaf. And I live in Bar Harbor, Maine, which on Mount Desert Island, which is where Acadia National Park is. And I wanted to mention to Amber, I think, I also have a son named Grady. That's it.
Very nice. Very nice to meet you. Okay, we'll go to Katie. We've got 2 Katies. So we'll go to Katie Forgang.
Yeah, it's Forgang. But hi, my name is Katie. I wanted to learn ASL for a very long time. I'm going to school to be a social worker, and so I just really want to explore different languages to be more, I guess, just to like work with other populations. So like with the deaf community, especially too. So I am in the Phoenix area of Arizona. So I'm out on the West Coast.
Really cool. And thanks for reminding me. I'm gonna jot down a note quick. So we will talk about, you know, culture and deafness, and I will share my story about coffee. So be on the lookout for that. We do have another Katie Hubbard.
Hi, I'm Katie Hubbard. I am taking this class because I am in graduate school for speech language pathology and wanted to learn ASL for working with people in the deaf community. And I live in Anchorage, Alaska.
Oh, you're very, very west. Very cool. All right. Liz Curran.
Hi. I'm Liz. This is my husband, Mike. We have a 2-year-old daughter who has Down syndrome. And speech for kids with Down syndrome comes anywhere from 2 to 7. So as we were just trying to find ways to help her better communicate, we thought adding sign language would be good. And she picked up on the common baby ones of eat and more, you know, and likes to use them. So we thought this would be a great way to help her communicate with our family and school. And we are located in Connecticut.
This is the interpreter. Where are you located? I'm sorry.
Connecticut.
Thank you. So important to provide different ways to communicate. That is amazing. You know, some communication is through art, some is spoken, some is signed, but it's just so important to have options. It's wonderful. And next, let's go to Madison Moss.
Hey everyone, I'm Madison. I grew up in Rockville, Maryland, but I live in the Bay Area in California now. And I want to go into healthcare, so I'm about to go into graduate school. And yeah, I really want to learn ASL. So yeah, thanks everyone.
Sure. Awesome. Nice to meet you. Let's go to Nancy Reckman.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
I had surgery earlier today, so I barely have a voice right now. Uh, but I am taking this because I've always been interested in ASL. And my sister, who's also taking the class, told me she was going to do it. And I said I would love to learn it. And I live in South Carolina.
Okay, very nice. Let's move on to, let's go to Nikki.
Hello, I'm Nikki. My full name is Nicole Shermonte Gentry. I did put it in chat because it's very long and it's a complicated spelling for most people. Stay-at-home wife. Basically, I wanted to do ASL because pretty much my husband and I, we have Disney annual, we're from Florida, so we have Disney annual passes. And every time we go, we get pins and we wear them on lanyards. And basically we were at Epcot and there was this guy and he was like doing this and showing me, and I'm like, oh, he wants to see my pins. And basically it was mostly pointing. And it was like, you really couldn't communicate. And I'm like, well, that sucks. So I was like, well, let me, it may be that one only person I ever come across, but I was like, why not? Because here was somebody trying to talk to me and we literally couldn't do anything but just point at each other and be like, cool, like trying to give like some facial expression. So yeah, I told my husband, I'm like, I'd like to learn. So I did a lot of looking around on the internet and came across this program and decided to sign up. So yeah.
So funny, when you were talking, I thought maybe I knew who you were talking about, but I went to California and there was a woman that realized I was deaf. So then she called on a deaf employee and, he had worked at Disney, but you're in Florida. This was in California. So very nice to meet you. Let's go to Paige McGargle.
Yep, sorry. I'm Paige, and this is my husband, Joe. We're taking this class because our niece, who just turned 1, is deaf, and we're from a hearing family, so we're all playing catch up. And then I also work at Children's Hospital with kids with autism and speech delays, so I'm excited to keep learning more signs to use with them. I know some basic ones, and we are in Kansas City.
Very nice. And then we'll go to Rabs and Rachel.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rabs. And Rachel. And we are taking this class as allies. And we also have children in our lives that we love and would like to teach to sign, particularly babies. And I also work with kids, but we are just primarily taking this class to learn. And we live in New York, Lenape territory.
Thanks for doing this. All right, let's go to Ricky.
Hi, I'm Ricky. I'm from Orlando, Florida. I'm taking this class because my daughter, who's 1 year old, is deaf. My wife actually just took the last class, and we're kind of taking turns taking classes just to fix our schedule. Like, she's watching the baby now, so now I can take it. And so we're gonna try to take as many classes as we can so we'll be able to communicate better as she gets older.
It's very nice that you guys are able to alternate. It's a nice balance. That's great. Next, let's go to Sharon.
Hi, I'm Sharon. I'm Nancy's sister. So she's taking the class with me. My niece is deaf. She's the one who worked at the Texas School for the Deaf. She also has a cochlear implant, so she does speak. So I never had to learn to sign. She just moved back here to Framingham, Massachusetts to work for the School for the Deaf here. And she's starting to sign with her niece, my great niece, who's 1. And ASL has been very intimidating to me. And then when I see that, I'm like, if a 1-year-old can learn to do this, so can I. So here I am.
Very nice. And, I totally understand, it's like learning another language, but, sign language is very visual. It can seem kind of intimidating, but you're going to catch on, trust me. So I think we've got about 5 more people left. Let's go to Shelba Edwards.
Hello, I'm Shelba Edwards. And the reason why I'm taking ASL is I'm retiring in a couple of years. And I just want to try something new. Thank you. Oh, I'm from Maryland, very close to Washington, D.C. Thank you.
And, great choice, just kind of taking a class prior to retirement. So let's go to Sinem. This is the interpreter, forgive me.
Sinam, it's okay. Hi, I'm from Maryland, and I just want to say to Katie, I'm a social worker. So I know she's in school for social work. I'm from Maryland, and I am taking this class because my boyfriend, Ryan, he has deaf parents. So I wanted to be able to connect with them. And also I thought it will be really great to have another language. I'm a hospice social worker to help with my patients who are dying and their families.
Very nice. And, we'll talk about some of that later. So thank you for sharing that. Let's go to the Hendersons.
Hi, I'm Miles. This is Renee, and we have Andre here. And we're here because my wife is deaf and we want to learn more sign.
Sounds great. Very nice. And I think there was someone that came in later, Selena.
Hi, good evening. Sorry I was late. I just flew in from California. I'm in the Washington, D.C. area, and I'm here. I work at the State Education Agency, and we have been pushing out a ton of instruction for educators around reading and learning, and realized that there is a real gap needed. And so I'm here to learn because I've had an interest, but also because I want to expand what we can offer educators across the city.
Very good. Thank you for that. Did I miss anyone? Some of the tiles were kind of bouncing around. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anyone. If I did, send me a chat. Looks like we're good. Okay. All right, so now you can see that some of us are in the same state, some of us have the same career path, some of us have children with hearing loss, some of us are simply curious. We've got a couple social workers and SLPs. That's wonderful. That, this makes for a great group to share different perspectives and experiences. It's so meaningful for me to know who you guys are. You know, some are 3,000 miles away and some are just a couple hundred miles away. So this is a great opportunity for us to come together, learn sign language together, be better allies, and to just communicate with the community. There's a lot of misinformation about ASL, you know, teaching ASL results in bad English. And we're going to talk about the value of communication and, you know, what ASL has that is beneficial. And we'll discuss those things as the classes progress. And this class is a great starting point, you know, just to kind of gain an understanding. So the first thing, I want to share the coffee story to you. This actually happened to me. I love local coffee, especially drip coffee, like black. You know, I don't like to have anything else added. And, you know, and it's important to me that it's local. So I went in the morning. I'm an early bird. I'm such a morning person. And, you know, there was a line and there were people talking and, you know, getting out of line. And when I got up there, I felt like I kind of stopped the rhythm or the flow. I had typed my order on my phone, you know, meanwhile, the line is just growing and growing. I felt terrible. So I decided to talk to the manager and the employee. It's always the same employee there every morning. And I was like, you know, I just wanted to teach coffee signs, you know, signs that were related to coffee, like hot, cold, iced coffee, you know, small, large. And so they were like, yeah, absolutely. So I taught them a handful of signs. And then at one point, I went in there just like a hearing person. You know, I was like, I just want a large hot coffee. The guy was like, okay, here you go. And I went out, you know, so I didn't stop the flow of things. And they were just very simple signs, but boy, did it make a difference. So those of you in healthcare, those of you in social work, having a little bit is really going to go a long way. And it's really going to make either yourself or someone else feel comfortable. Those of you working with grieving families, same thing. Some of you mentioned that it's intimidating, ASL, the language, but we're going to get there. You know, we're going to kind of break down those fears. So back to the coffee story. There was another deaf lady that works at the same place that I do. And she started to write something down and I was like, hey, you don't have to, they know signs. So she was like, you know, signing 100 signs a minute. And the guy was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And so she slowed way down. And then, you know, she kind of gave them her order and they were like, you know, who taught you this? How did you get here? And the woman shared that it was Ursa. So, you know, I got my moment of recognition, if you will, but made such a big difference in the business and in us getting our orders and getting in and out very quickly. Those of you that are SLPs or studying to be SLPs, social workers, also, a lot of times parents are going to look to you. You know, when I worked in elementary in the family curriculum, they, you know, would talk to me about speech, you know, how's my child's speech? And I was like, I can tell you about, you know, your math and your English and, you know, those kinds of things. So I decided to collaborate with the SLP. And when parents would, you know, look toward the SLP who was hearing, the SLP said, you know what, I work with the teacher. I'm taking the teacher's lead. And then you could see parents kind of turning their head and looking back to me as the subject matter expert and, you know, having conversations with me. And, you know, it's totally fine for students to voice or sign or, you know, to kind of go back and forth. I understand, you know, there's an element of grief if you find out that your child has hearing loss, but it's important that they grow up with options, that they have access to communication. And that's what I'm all about. So now, are you guys ready to learn? Some of you have a thumbs up, some of you don't. So this is how you say yes, yes, yes. Okay. Before I get started and start teaching you some of the basics, I do want you to know that I am right-handed. So if you're right-handed, great. If you're not right-handed, you're going to use your left hand. Okay, so you'll use the opposite hand. You should never switch back and forth. You know, like you start signing with one hand and then follow up with the other. That's not how you do. Follow the dominant hand. You will use the non-dominant hand in different ways, but you should not be switching back and forth. Facial expressions. You don't have to copy my facial expressions exactly. You know, I do come from some strong deaf genes. The important thing for you to focus on is signing clearly in this class. Okay, again, are you ready? Better, better. So typically I'll pull up a slide. I'll have you guys take a look at the words and then I'll enlarge the font on the next slide. And then we'll just kind of go through word by word. But this gives you a preview of what we're going to concentrate on. And before I get too far ahead, Sherry will send you the recording, but there's also some brief practice videos. And those are good for just kind of practicing on the side. So that you don't get overwhelmed in class. Okay, so we're going to go through these words. All right, second word of the night. We did yes. So now we're going to do again. So your non-dominant hand should be palm up. And then your dominant hand, you're going to bend that palm just like this. Bend the hand, excuse me. Turn it upside down and make a half circle. Again. 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 Okay. And we will do a review. So we'll go through the words and then we'll go back and we will review them. So bending the hand again and bringing it up to the temple. And it is important to nod your head for I know. Forget. Forget. So it's almost like you're just wiping your memory. Forget. And you could have a little bit of facial expression. You know, like you don't want to be smiling and sign forget. That doesn't make any sense, you know, so a little bit of furrowed eyebrow there. And this is the motion, forget. Okay. So you're going to start with, remember we did yes, so the S hand shape, and you're going to turn it around. And this index finger is going to just kind of pop up right next to the head. You're also going to, again, nod to indicate, I understand. So you're going to flick that index finger up, I understand. And again, it's important for you to nod, and you'll see why here momentarily. Remember, so your non-dominant hand is kind of, the thumb's kind of looking at me, if you will. So you start with 2 thumbs up, turn the non-dominant hand so that it's looking at you. And then the dominant hand comes to the center of the forehead and then sticks to the non-dominant hand. Remember. So, you know, almost like, you know, stick with it or a sticky note. I remember or remember. I don't know. I don't know. And you see that you're nodding your head in negation to indicate, I don't know. You guys are progressing well. Good job. Good job. So we did, I understand, remember? So the sign is the same, but you're nodding in negation. So you're kind of shaking that head in negation, okay? So same hand shape, same movement, but what changes is the head nod. So I understand. Yep, I understand. I don't understand. Okay, see the difference there? No. Push that thumb in. No, 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 no. So now I'm going to go back so that we can review. When you see me say what, that means I want you to sign the word, okay? So what is the sign for this? Again, right, again. So one palm is flat, the other hand is bent, again. What is this? I know. I know, good job. And what is this one? Forget. That's right, forget. Good. And what is this one? I understand. Yep, I understand. Remember. 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 Oh. I don't know. I don't know. And a lot of times people do, you know, kind of mix up signs. And that's normal. That's normal. So this is the sign for I don't know. Okay. I don't know. And this one, what's this one? I don't understand. Very good. No. No. Just like this. All right. Now I'm going to ask the interpreter to not voice. Okay. So, you know, you guys did great. You know, we kind of muted the interpreter and I promised that, you know, I'll be easy on you. So, you know, I don't want you guys to feel intimidated. From time to time, I will ask the interpreter to not voice. And I want you to have that balance of both expressive and receptive skills. You know, sometimes I meet people who have very strong receptive skills and very minimal expressive skills and vice versa. And I really do feel that it's important to have that balance of each. So you guys are doing a great job so far. Yes. So S hand shape with a non-dominant hand. Dominant hand comes over top, slow, slow. So this is kind of like a conversation marker, if you will, just to, make sure that you're paying attention. You could use your body language, or you could do a sign. So this is kind of the body language, just kind of that, okay, I see. Rather than just, kind of looking with this frozen stance. Or you could do kind of the bouncing Y for, oh, I see. Yeah, I see. Either one is fine. Non-dominant hand is palm up. Thumbs up with the dominant hand. Help. Help. Just kind of right there at the base of the palm. Help. Wrong. That Y hand shape. Coming up to the chin. Wrong. Wrong. So index finger up on each hand. Non-dominant hand, you're going to turn kind of at an angle. Dominant hand is coming over top, right, right. And I do want to remind you guys that, what I'm signing are, very common nationwide signs. Some states do have regional signs that are proportionate to, vernacular, like pop and soda. And I will give you what is most common used, typically like the top 1 or 2 signs, but understand that there are some other variations. So I am teaching you what is most widely known and recognized, okay? Some words do have different meanings, like right. You could say, you're right, as in correct, or you could be talking about your right hand. So you wouldn't say my hand is right. That sign is for correct, whereas the R coming to the side is for my right hand. So this is right. So you're making the R right, and then left is an L going to the left. Okay, so right and left. Okay, sorry. 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 So I am right-handed. So I'm going to say right. My dominant hand is my right hand. But it's important for you guys to recognize whatever your dominant hand is. If you're right-handed, you're going to follow me. If you're left-handed, then you're going to follow that. And so you can, like, if you're driving or something, you could sign, with the right hand going to the left or the left hand going to the right. That's fine. It's, you just wouldn't want to say right going to the left and then left going to the right. So that's really the main thing to take into consideration there. Like if I had a cup in my hand, I might say, oh, well, go to the left or go to the right. Okay. So I want to do this again. Sorry. Make sure that we know that one. Sorry. Please. Please. Same, that Y hand shape. Same. And you can change direction. So it could be same like to the side, or same in the front, or same all the way out in front of you. Okay. Or it could be same, you know, this way with the hand turned. So same, same, and same. There are some variations there. Different. So both index fingers up. And it doesn't matter which one's in front or behind. It's just important that you go through that motion. So different. Okay, so now let's go back. And what is this? Yes. Yep, good. And what is this? Slow. Oh, I see. How about this one? Help. What is this one? Wrong. So the fingers should be together for help. To address the chat. Help. And what is this one? Right. And some of you did right as in right-handed. That's a good one. So right as in correct. Right. Kind of making an X, if you will, or cross, kind of cross bars there. And what is this one? Sorry. And this one? Please. Please. Okay. What is this one? Same. Same. Remember, it could have different directions. And this one? Different. Different. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the first class, you know, typically we just kind of progress as we can. The second, third, and fourth classes are going to flow a little bit better. You know, the first class we're kind of breaking the ice, if you will, getting comfortable with one another. I don't want you guys to feel overwhelmed on the first night. That's not a good feeling. So I want you to feel a sense of accomplishment. I do want to take a moment to explain something to you. So we're going to talk about no. So I always like to teach this now. So you know, like if you're addressing children or adults, really, it doesn't matter. When you voice, you can, you can just say no, or, that could be very firm to a no, right? It's different. There's a clear difference there. And the same thing applies in sign language. So you don't have to copy me yet. I just want to show you the range, and then I'll have you guys mirror the sign, okay? So if you're looking at a scale of 1 to 10, no, this is what we just learned. So this would be a 1, like no. Okay. If you escalate to a 5, then the sign becomes bigger. No, no. Okay, no. So 1 is no, no. 5 is no. Okay, no. And then a 10, so kind of odd, but we typically, deaf people will spell something out, and I'll teach you the alphabet, but this is the sign for N. O. So no. And I mean, that just means like absolutely not, no. And so there's emphasis there. You never want to start at a 10 on that scale. So again, I've taught a wide variety of ages and ranges, and you always are going to start with no. If I'm frustrated or upset and I sign NO, then they know, I'm mad, I'm upset, I'm not happy. So I just, I sign NO, no. And then everything cuts off, and the same thing happens with inflection and intonation and voice. There's a difference between no, no, and no. Okay. And the same thing applies with yes. So yes, yes. Then moving to a 5, yes. Much bigger sign, yes, yes. And then when you get to the 10, you spell it Y-E-S. Okay. And I haven't taught you the alphabet yet, but you'll notice that no and yes have signs, and then when it's spelled out, and again, we'll go over those letters, but when they're spelled out, that means you're at the max level. Okay, and that doesn't apply to all words, but to those two, yes and no specifically. Any questions on that? Okay, so what is this? Help. 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 Okay. So this is just kind of general to me, help. Now, if you're asking for help, then you start with the sign away from you and you bring it in toward you. So that's indicative of, I need your help. Can you help me? Okay. If you're offering help, then you start with the sign in at your chest and go outward. And that can go, in any direction. It could be directly in front of you, either offering help or asking for help. But just help, in that typical signing space is just indicative of help. But, you could say, hey, do you need help? They could say no. Okay, that's fine, no problem. And I forgot to mention, with yes and no, you can change the kind of this signing space. If you're talking to, someone smaller than you, then you could sign no kind of downward, you could sign no upward, no outward. Same thing with yes. It's just important to make eye contact with whomever it is that you're signing with. Okay, so you're not locked into just that signing space or that signing square in front of you. Some signs do move around, and that's appropriate. So one person sent me a DM and asked, so no, thank you. No, thank you. And you could just say no, thanks, or thank you, no, thank you. Or you could say yes, thank you. And that's fine too. I'm just looking at the time, see how we're doing. Okay, I've got some time. So you guys might be wondering why I didn't start with the alphabet. I feel like it's better for you to learn signs that are going to help you to communicate. These signs are critical. Let me get to the right place here. So these discourse markers are good conversation starters. When you meet somebody, you would have something to start with rather than saying, I know the ABCs. As a deaf person, it's like, okay, and so this allows you to engage in dialogue, like, oh, sorry, or please, they're conversation starters, and that's better than saying, oh, I know the ABCs. And to be honest with you, that is a deaf person's pet peeve. I mean, honestly. Oftentimes I'll go out and someone will be like, hi, I know ASL. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then they're like, A, B, C. And I'm like, that's not ASL. Come on. ASL is a language, the signs. So it's important to keep that in the back of your mind. It's fine if you can finger spell. You could say, I know ASL a little bit, A, B, C. And so then I'm like, oh, okay, so you only know the alphabet, rather than saying, I know ASL, and then, alphabet ensues. So these words help you to be able to engage in conversation. I'm going to skip through these because we already went through those. Okay. So what we've got here are some greetings. Nice to know, just kind of open up a conversation, right? So I just taught you thank you, and I want to show you the difference here. So thank you is here. Thank you. It's kind of wide. Thank you. Okay. Now good is smaller. Good. Okay, you see it's less of an angle there. Thank you is wider. Thank you. Okay. And as we continue learning, some signs do look similar, but they've got different meanings. Some might have a different direction, some may have a different location, some may have different facial features that accompany them. So first, I want to make sure that you're watching carefully. So I'll start at this angle. Good morning. Okay. Non-dominant hand just kind of comes in the crook of that elbow. Good morning. I'll show you this from this angle. Good morning. Okay. And I do catch some people who they say good with their dominant hand, and then they say morning with their non-dominant hand, and that's inappropriate. You use the same hand. It's just that non-dominant hand comes into the crook of the dominant elbow. That's it. So good morning. Good morning. All with the dominant hand. Okay. So what's different here is good afternoon. So that non-dominant hand is supporting under the forearm. And, you know, I mean, it doesn't really matter necessarily where under the forearm. So let me do this again. So good morning. And for the non-dominant hand in morning, it doesn't matter if the thumb's up or thumb down. You're not overly concerned with what that looks like. The important thing is what you're executing with the dominant hand. So back to good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Show you a different angle, good afternoon. Okay. So somewhere, you know, in the middle of that forearm. Not all the way up in the armpit, but, you know, mid forearm. Okay. Oh, goodness, I missed one. Okay. Good. Good. Non-dominant hand, again, doesn't matter if it's thumbs up or down, it's up to you. Good night. So you're going to bend that dominant hand. Good night. Okay. And the wrist kind of sits right on top of that non-dominant hand. Good night. Just like this. And again, non-dominant thumb, doesn't matter if it's up or down, whatever's comfortable. The important thing is that you're bending the dominant hand and it's meeting right at the wrist. The bend of the wrist. Good night. Good night. Okay. Let's do it again. And what's this? Good morning. Yep. Right. You guys are right. Good night. Good night. And what is this one? Good afternoon. Right. Good afternoon. You guys are doing really good. Great job. And we'll do some practice and you'll continue to practice on your own. Oh, so as far as the location, it kind of depends. There's nothing that's perfect or, specific. A lot of people ask that question. And, there are some instructors that, really feel like there are a certain number of times, like help, for example, that thumb bounces, but I'm not going to count. If there is a specific location, I will let you know. But I mean, good, as long as it's within this range, I mean, you're not going to be, at the top of your nose. But if it's underneath the nose to the chin, you're good. Right, good. Okay, so I'm gonna close with finger spelling. And then we'll offer an opportunity for you guys to ask questions before we wrap up for the night. So you might notice that the sign for finger spelling is this, finger spelling. Okay, this is the sign, finger spelling. So that is, you know, spelling with letters. And there are two signs for sign that are similar. So you can start with S's, turn them around. Signs. Okay, that's one. So signs. Or the other variation is sign. Like this, sign. Okay, sign. But if you see me say finger spell, then there's no sign. Some words there are a sign. Okay. You guys understand? Yes. Oh, let's see. So you're gonna go forward, not backward. Okay, for the rotation sign. Okay, you guys understand? Or did you forget? No, you guys haven't forgotten. Okay. So I'll give you a moment just to read the slide. Oh, Karen, you can't see the slide?
It's not big enough.
Oh, okay. Okay, so in the recording, you should be able to see it, but it's more or less like kind of the do's and don'ts. So thank you for that feedback. I appreciate that. So for finger spelling, you're typically going to maintain a certain amount of space between your hand and your body. Okay, so it's going to be between your chin and your shoulder. This is your signing space for finger spelling. And you're never going to finger spell to the left. You're always going to finger spell to the right. Okay, so you're always going to finger spell outward, not inward. Excuse me. And you should not do letter by letter. So for example, you are, right? It's just a steady line of letters going outward, finger spelling. So like my name is U-R-S-A, not U-R-S-A. Okay, that's not how you do that. So you do have a dedicated signing space, and you're not going to finger spell up in somebody's face. And you're not going to finger spell fast to look good. What looks good is clarity and being clear in your finger spelling. Okay. You don't have to mouth each letter. For those of you that are learning, the most difficult thing to learn receptively is finger spelling. And, you know, even as people take advanced classes, they see somebody that is finger spelling, there's so many differences, you know, large hands, small hands, thick fingers, thin fingers, different signing styles. So I do just want you to be aware that finger spelling is one of the most difficult things to learn receptively. Okay. So because we're on Zoom, I'm going to show you very close to the screen just for clarity so you can see the sign shape. Some of these are old hand shapes. I should have updated the slide, but I've been procrastinating and putting that off. So I want you to copy me and not what you see on the slide necessarily. So I'm gonna go through and then we'll go letter by letter and then slide by slide from there. So A, not this. The thumb is against the index finger. A, B, not this. Okay, the thumb is in the front. B, C, doesn't really matter how you position it. D, so you do have a little circle there. D, E, and it's okay if you do it this way or this way, just as long as it doesn't look like a claw. E, F, this finger should be spread apart. F, G, so kind of like an L that, you know, kind of like melts a little bit into a G. H, and you should not turn it outward. It should be turned just like this. H, I, and that thumb should be in the front. Okay. J, J. Some people do just a little dainty thing. That's not right. It should be a full J. Okay. Okay. So if you kind of start with a peace sign, and then your middle finger goes outward. And then the thumb does not go in the middle. It rests on the middle finger. Okay. Okay. L, M, and you can do this, or you can poke that thumb out. Either one is fine. N, O, so we just did K, turn it upside down, and it's a P. Okay. And then G, same thing. G, turn it upside down, it becomes a Q. R, and the middle finger should be in the back. S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Z. So for those of you that don't use your hands like a deaf person, tomorrow you might feel a little bit sore, and that is normal. You know, you're not used to using your hands in this way. For those of you who type and use your hands may feel just fine. And that's normal, again. Okay, so go ahead and spell this word. How do you spell this word? Finger spell it. P I Z Z A. Okay, very good. Unfortunately, you didn't spell it right. So actually, this word is pretty unique. As I mentioned, this word has probably over 8 different signs. And, you know, people have pride for pizza, especially like in New York, and Chicago, and Connecticut. You know, there's really some pride in that pizza. There's different competitions and so on and so forth. But the word pizza is unique because, watch me, you're right with the P, the I, but there's a double Z, A. And that's how you finger spell pizza. And so that is very unique. You know, this is the one word that is unique in that way. So I wanted to introduce that to you. So you've got the P-I double Z-A. And a lot of people often ask, you know, how do you sign double letters? This word, for example, some slide, some have just a subtle bounce. So if you'll watch, B, A, L, L, O, O, N. Okay, so if there were no other letters after L, you could slide B-A-L-L, and it just slides B-A-L-L. But with the word balloon, it's B-A-L-L, right? There's kind of a bounce, O-O, a bounce, and then N. So you can't slide. But if it ends in a double letter, then you can do that slide. So B-A-L-L for ball, B-A, bounce the L, bounce the L, bounce the O, bounce the O, N. Same thing with boo, B-O-O, those O's slide because there's nothing else on the end. The double letter is the ending. So ball, balloon, okay. Let's do another one. Let me find one here. Okay, so K, I, T, T, E, N. Okay, let's do one more. How about this one? P, I, LLOW. So if you're practicing, I suggest you on your own, like the name of my cup, Bucees, Bucky's, just find things and finger spell. And then your hands will kind of get used to that movement. Okay, so the last thing we're going to do before we close, and ASL, typically you don't sign articles such as is and the, and we'll talk more about that next week. So you're gonna make 2 H's, name, my name, and then finger spell your name. Yeah, I see some of you finger spelling. Great, beautiful. And you can certainly practice that. So the opposite would be your name. So my and your name. Okay. So we are going to go ahead and wrap up. Let me see, was there a question? So somebody just asked how you do the last name. So my last name is long, but I will show you. So URSA, and then you kind of let go. So URSA R, right? So you kind of like let go at that last letter and then start at the new set. Okay. So it's not URSAR. It looks like it's all together. So you open the hands and kind of create a pause. All right, class is ended. You guys did a great job. It's okay to feel a little bit overwhelmed. Remember, this is recorded. You have videos. We will review. And of course, you're learning a new language. I mean, and you've learned a lot of words. I mean, we did an introduction, but, within 45 minutes, you guys learned a lot of words and you did a great job. Yeah, you guys really did a good job. Okay, good night.